The rhythmic hum of a 3D printer was the lullaby of Lena Vance's late nights. In the cluttered scent of solder and cheap coffee garage that served as her workspace, the glow of multiple monitors illuminated her face, a canvas of intense concentration. Lena, a brilliant, innovative software engineer in her late 20s, was driven by a singular, burning passion for ethical technology. She wasn't chasing profits or corporate empires. Her dream was to use artificial intelligence for social good. For years, she had meticulously developed Viridian AI, a revolutionary open-source AI platform designed to tackle real-world problems like environmental monitoring, disaster relief, and equitable resource distribution. It was a stark, almost defiant contrast to the profit-driven, often ethically dubious practices of major tech giants. With meager savings and an unshakable belief in her vision, she had founded her startup, Viridian Tech. Yet beneath her fierce dedication simmered a quiet, deep-seated resentment and a longing for a father she barely knew, a ruthless tech mogul who had abandoned her and her mother years ago, leaving a void that even her groundbreaking work couldn't entirely fill. Her daily life was a testament to her unwavering dedication and quiet struggle. Mornings began with the first hint of daylight, coding sessions often stretching until the early hours. Her meals were carefully budgeted ramen, her clothes worn but clean, a reflection of her unwavering commitment to funnel every spare dollar into Viridian Tech. But her eyes, even when tired, burned with an unshakable belief in her product, in the tangible good it could do. She thrived on the intellectual challenge, the intricate dance of algorithms and data, but she also cherished the camaraderie of her small, loyal team, a handful of equally passionate engineers who believed in her vision. They were her chosen family, a stark contrast to the distant, fractured reality of her biological one. One humid Saturday, Lena received an urgent email from a local homeless shelter. Their aging food distribution system had collapsed, leaving hundreds vulnerable. Despite the overwhelming demands of her own startup, Lena didn't hesitate. She volunteered her limited time and Viridian AI's nascent capabilities, working through the night to quickly develop a small, crucial app. The app used predictive analytics to optimize food distribution routes, minimizing waste and ensuring timely delivery to those in desperate need. By dawn, the system was live, already making a tangible difference. The shelter director, a kind-faced woman named Clara Rodriguez, wept with gratitude. Lena, tired but deeply satisfied, quietly slipped away, refusing any public recognition. This selfless act, performed while her own startup teetered on the brink, highlighted her ethical core and her unwavering commitment to social good, a stark contrast to the industry she sought to disrupt. Lena possessed an uncanny, almost intuitive understanding of complex algorithms, a trait that sometimes felt both a blessing and a curse. She believed it was a direct inheritance from her estranged father, a pioneering but now controversial figure in early AI development, whose work, though brilliant, had often veered into ethically murky territory. She often found herself untangling intricate code or predicting future tech trends with an almost unsettling accuracy, a silent echo of a genius she had never fully known. Around her neck she wore a simple silver locket, smooth and cool against her skin, containing a faded, sepia-toned photograph of her mother and a younger version of herself, taken just before her father had left, a physical reminder of a life irrevocably altered. Her digital world also held subtle mysteries. Occasionally, she would receive anonymous, encrypted messages containing obscure tech industry news, whispers of corporate espionage, leaked internal memos, hints of hidden financial dealings. She couldn't trace the sender, but the information was always precise, relevant, hinting at a hidden protector, someone with deep connections within the industry. It was unsettling, yet also strangely reassuring. Her startup's name, Viridian, was no accident. It was a subtle, coded reference to a project her father had worked on decades ago, an ambitious green-themed AI initiative that had been abandoned when he pivoted to more lucrative, less ethical ventures. It was a detail only he, and a select few of his earliest collaborators, would recognize, a silent challenge, a call to a forgotten ethical compass. The quiet fire of her innovation burned, fueled by both a fierce passion for technology and a deep-seated desire to rectify the ethical failings of a legacy she couldn't outrun. The serpent in the Silicon Valley. The very essence of Viridian AI's groundbreaking existence, its open-source architecture and dedication to social good, was an existential threat to the titans of the tech industry. Lena's vision, a radical departure from the proprietary, profit-driven models of major corporations that thrived on ethically questionable data harvesting, was a direct challenge to their entrenched power. They saw her not as an innovator, but as an insurgent, a disruptor of their carefully constructed monopolies. The serpent in this burgeoning Silicon Valley Eden was Richard Sterling, the ruthless, cutthroat CEO of Titan Tech, a global tech conglomerate. Richard was, unknowingly to Lena, her estranged father. He had meticulously erased Lena and her mother from his life years ago, convinced she was a forgotten mistake, a loose end tied to a past he wished to bury. His world was dominated by an insatiable hunger for market dominance, an obsession that had hardened him into a cold, manipulative strategist. He viewed Viridian Tech not just as a competitor, but as an existential threat to his monopolistic practices, a dangerous example of open-source innovation that could unravel his entire empire. Richard was driven by a colossal ego, an insatiable greed, and a profound, gnawing fear of losing control, particularly after a series of recent setbacks in his own company's stock performance. He was outwardly charming, a master of corporate rhetoric, but inwardly cold, calculating, and utterly devoid of genuine empathy. He knew nothing of Lena's true identity, viewing her as nothing more than a minor, easily crushed competitor, a naive idealist ripe for exploitation. Richard had already initiated a subtle, insidious campaign of corporate espionage and sabotage against Viridian Tech. Leaked rumors, cleverly disguised as industry insights, began to surface, subtly discrediting Lena and her team. Anonymous job offers, laced with promises of astronomical salaries, attempted to poach her nascent talent, chipping away at the small, loyal team she had painstakingly built. Most insidiously, attempts at intellectual property theft, conducted through a shadowy network of shell companies and offshore accounts, aimed to steal Viridian AI's core algorithms, to be repurposed for Titan Tech's nefarious ends. Lena's small team felt the mounting pressure, their morale beginning to waver under the unseen assault. Despite the growing external pressures, Viridian Tech managed to secure a coveted spot at the annual Innovate Summit, the most prestigious tech conference in the world. This was their chance, a make-or-break moment to secure crucial venture capital funding and gain industry recognition. Lena was scheduled to deliver a keynote pitch, a live demonstration of Viridian AI's capabilities that could either propel her company to dizzying heights or send it crashing into oblivion. The entire tech world, including Richard Sterling, would be watching. The night before the summit, a horrifying discovery shattered Lena's already frayed nerves. She uncovered a major, undeniable security breach in Viridian AI's core code, a sophisticated, deeply hidden vulnerability. It wasn't a random bug. It was a deliberately inserted malware, a digital serpent coiled deep within her creation. This malware, meticulously coded, was designed to cause Viridian AI to malfunction spectacularly during the live demo at the summit. It would display erroneous data, crash unpredictably, or worse, subtly corrupt the very algorithms designed for social good, publicly humiliating Lena and discrediting the entire concept of open-source AI. The realization hit Lena with a cold, sickening dread. The full extent of the corporate sabotage was now chillingly clear. She knew that exposing the breach publicly meant risking her entire company's reputation, potentially alienating investors who prioritized stability above all else. But concealing it meant guaranteed, catastrophic failure on the biggest stage of her career. This was her last chance to save her company, her vision, and the very future of ethical AI. The knowledge that a powerful, unseen rival was actively trying to destroy her using such insidious tactics awakened a fierce, unyielding determination within her. She would fight. This was the point of no return. The shadow, in the spotlight. The Innovate Summit buzzed with a manic energy, a glittering spectacle of ambition and innovation held within the city's grandest convention center. Richard Sterling, commanding the main stage, delivered a polished keynote address, his voice a smooth, captivating baritone. He subtly bad-mouthed open-source AI, portraying it as a chaotic, insecure novelty, while championing Titan Tech's proprietary models as the epitome of stability and cutting-edge security. His words, laced with veiled warnings about untested technologies, were a direct, unspoken attack on Viridian Tech. Lena, backstage, felt the immense pressure, the weight of her company's future resting on the flawless execution of her pitch. Richard's plan was meticulously detailed, a masterpiece of corporate sabotage. His team had embedded a sophisticated malware, a digital time bomb, deep within Viridian AI's core code months ago. The malware was designed to activate during Lena's live demonstration, causing Viridian AI to malfunction spectacularly. It would display erroneous data, crash unpredictably, or subtly corrupt its own algorithms, publicly humiliating Lena and discrediting open-source technology before the assembled venture capitalists, industry titans, and media. Richard planned to be front and center in the audience, a smug, satisfied smile on his face, enjoying her downfall. He saw her as a minor, easily crushed competitor, utterly unaware of the powerful connection that bound them. Backstage, the air was thick with the scent of freshly printed brochures and nervous energy. Lena, hunched over her laptop, ran through her demo one last time. As her fingers flew across the keyboard, a subtle, almost imperceptible glitch flickered on her screen. A series of rapid, nonsensical characters briefly distorted a graph, then vanished. It was too quick for anyone else to notice, a mere pixelated tremor, but Lena, with her keen eye for code and her intuitive understanding of AI, a trait she unconsciously shared with her father, recognized it instantly. It wasn't a random bug. It was a sophisticated, precisely coded malware. Its signature, a unique algorithmic pattern, triggered a faint, almost subconscious memory from her childhood. A specific coding style, a complex mathematical fingerprint she dimly recalled from her father's early, more ethical work. The realization hit her like a cold shock, a physical blow to her gut. This sabotage, this specific style of malicious code, was undeniably reminiscent of her father's brilliant, but now corrupted genius. The silver locket around her neck, usually a comforting weight, suddenly felt heavy, burning against her skin. Richard Sterling wasn't just a rival CEO. He was her father, the man who had abandoned her, who had always prioritized ambition over family, was now actively trying to destroy her life's work, driven by the very brilliance he had passed on to her. The irony was a bitter, nauseating taste. Her loyal lead developer, Ben Carter, a quiet coding genius and longtime friend, saw Lena's sudden, profound distress. He had noticed the quick flicker on the screen, but hadn't understood its origin. "Lena, are you okay?" he asked, his voice laced with concern. "You look like you've seen a ghost. Was there a glitch?" He offered quiet support, his hand hovering, ready to help. But Lena couldn't reveal the full, horrifying truth. Not yet. Meanwhile, Richard, utterly oblivious to Lena's devastating discovery, was giving a pre-pitch interview to a prominent tech journalist. He was charming, articulate, exuding an air of effortless superiority. He subtly mocked Viridian tech and open-source models, expressing his concern for naive startups rushing into unproven territories. He then took his seat in the front row, a smug smile on his face, ready for the show, convinced he had orchestrated a flawless victory. He saw Lena walk onto the stage, a small, determined figure under the blinding lights, and felt a perverse satisfaction. He was about to crush her, and she had no idea who held the hammer. The code and the conscience. The Innovate Summit's main stage pulsed with anticipation. Lena Vance stepped into the blinding spotlight, the roar of the assembled tech titans and venture capitalists a dizzying wave of pressure. Richard Sterling, her estranged father, sat in the front row, his confident smirk a chilling tableau of impending malice. He watched, utterly oblivious to the silent battle Lena was already fighting. As Lena launched into her presentation, her voice clear and articulate, the insidious sabotage began. The malware, precisely timed, subtly corrupted the data Viridian AI was processing for its live demonstration. The first signs were almost imperceptible. A graph flickered, a data point briefly skewed, then corrected itself. Lena, her heart hammering against her ribs, felt a cold dread. She could see the hidden code working, a parasitic script meticulously designed to unravel her creation. The displays on the large screen behind her, meant to showcase Viridian AI's groundbreaking capabilities, began to stutter, showing erratic data, then displaying a series of increasingly ominous error messages. The system was failing, slowly, creeping towards a spectacular public crash at the most critical juncture of her pitch. Lena's mind became a blur of frantic calculations. She couldn't expose the sabotage. It would appear weak, an excuse for failure. Blaming others was not her style, nor would it save her company. She had to fight back in real time, on stage, while maintaining her composure, her outward facade of control. It was a brutal, solitary battle. She relied solely on her brilliant, intuitive understanding of her own code and the chillingly familiar signature of her father's malicious work. Her fingers, concealed beneath the podium, flew across her hidden keyboard, typing commands, attempting to isolate and neutralize the malware without disrupting the presentation entirely. Every second was a gamble, every line of code a desperate prayer. The stakes were impossibly high. Her company, Viridian Tech, her life's work, her vision for ethical AI, her entire future, all hung in the balance. The investors in the audience, initially captivated, began to shift uncomfortably. Their expressions, once eager with interest, slowly twisted into skepticism, their whispers growing louder. A ticking clock echoed in Lena's ears, counting down not just to the end of her pitch, but to the potential collapse of everything she had built. The memories of her childhood, the coldness of her father's ambition, fueled her desperate fight. She would not let him win, not again. Backstage, Lena's loyal lead developer, Ben Carter, hunched over his own monitor. He was managing the audience's remote data feeds, ensuring seamless interaction. He noticed subtle discrepancies, tiny ripples in the network that shouldn't be there. He didn't know the full extent of the sabotage, but his gut screamed external interference. He started subtly running diagnostics, pushing isolated queries through the system, trying to identify any anomalous connections or rogue scripts. Unbeknownst to Lena, Ben was inadvertently assisting her on-stage battle, providing an indirect, crucial layer of support, a quiet helper in her hour of greatest need. He saw the sweat on Lena's brow, the subtle tension in her shoulders, and knew, with a sinking heart, that something was terribly wrong. He just didn't know the depths of the serpent's venom. The fight for Viridian AI, for Lena's very soul, was now a race against time and a hidden digital predator. The daughter's triumph and the father's fall. The tension in the Innovate Summit auditorium was a palpable, suffocating force. Viridian AI's demo software, a manifestation of Lena's life's work, was teetering on the precipice of total collapse. The data on the giant screen behind her had devolved into a meaningless jumble, the progress bar frozen, displaying a stark, damning error message. Richard Sterling, seated in the front row, allowed a triumphant, almost imperceptible smirk to touch his lips. His plan, executed with chilling precision, was working. Victory was within his grasp. But Lena Vance was not merely a victim. She was a brilliant, intuitive engineer, armed with the intimate knowledge of her father's unique coding signature. In a flash of desperate genius, she understood the final, audacious move required. She didn't just fight the malware, she used the very vulnerability Richard had inserted to reverse engineer a counter-exploit in real time. Her fingers, a blur across her hidden keyboard, weren't just typing commands, they were orchestrating a digital counterattack. With a series of lightning-fast maneuvers, she subtly fed the corrupted malicious data back into Titan-Tech's network, revealing its insidious origin. The digital serpent, now trapped, was turning on its master. Simultaneously, Lena pivoted her presentation. Her voice, which had momentarily wavered, now resonated with a steel-like calm. "Ladies and gentlemen," she declared, her eyes sweeping across the anxious faces in the audience, "Viridian AI is designed not just for innovation, but for resilience. We believe in building technology that protects, even from unseen threats." With a single, decisive keystroke, she activated a hidden diagnostic mode within Viridian AI, a feature designed for internal testing that she now unleashed for public consumption. The large screen behind her, instead of displaying the original demo, abruptly shifted. It now showed a complex, rapidly scrolling stream of code, highlighting the malware's intricate structure, its hidden pathways, and then, for a fleeting, horrifying second, the source code signature of the attack. It was a subtle pattern, a unique algorithmic fingerprint, one that only a handful of top-tier AI developers would recognize, and one that Richard Sterling had personally designed. Richard Sterling, watching from the front row, felt a cold, paralyzing dread wash over him. His confident smirk vanished, replaced by utter horror. He saw the signature, his own unique coding fingerprint, the very blueprint of the malware he had personally designed to destroy his daughter's company. It was undeniable, irrefutable, now broadcast on the immense screen for a room full of the industry's most powerful figures. The realization slammed into him with the force of a physical blow. His own daughter had not only defeated his sabotage, but had just publicly, albeit subtly, exposed his corporate espionage. His face drained of all color, his skin taking on a sickly pallor. His empire, built on a foundation of deception and ruthlessness, began to crumble before his very eyes. The audience, initially confused by the glitch and Lena's sudden shift, was now captivated, then awestruck by her masterful recovery and the subtle, chilling revelation. Venture capitalists, recognizing the profound implications of an AI that could not only identify but also counter sophisticated cyber warfare in real time, began to murmur in excitement, their previous skepticism replaced by avid interest. The focus shifted from the minor glitch to Lena's undeniable brilliance and the implicit devastating warning her software had just delivered to any would-be saboteurs. A single resounding clap broke the silence, followed by another, then a cascade. Thunderous applause erupted, not just for the technology, but for Lena's incredible composure, her ethical strength, and the raw, undeniable genius she had just displayed. The ovation swelled, shaking the very foundations of the auditorium. Richard Sterling, overwhelmed and utterly defeated, attempted to flee, desperate to escape the damning gaze of his peers. But he was surrounded, trapped by a swarm of confused, then suspicious journalists and incredulous investors, their questions sharp and relentless. He was exposed, undone by his own arrogance and his estranged daughter's hidden, indomitable brilliance. The predator had become the prey. A new horizon? A broken legacy. The aftermath of Lena Vance's triumph at the Innovate Summit was a cataclysm for Richard Sterling. News of his corporate espionage and his attempt to sabotage his own daughter's groundbreaking AI, fueled by the explosive revelations from the summit, spread like wildfire. Titan Tech's stock plummeted, investors panicked, and investigations into Richard's unethical practices, long whispered about in hushed tones, now began in earnest. He faced immediate public backlash, a barrage of lawsuits, and a hostile takeover orchestrated by his own disillusioned board. His once impeccable reputation was utterly destroyed, leaving him to lose his company, his standing in the tech world, and virtually everything he had built on a foundation of deceit. For Lena, the victory was immense, but bittersweet. Viridian Tech secured massive funding almost immediately after the summit, with venture capitalists eager to invest in an AI platform that could not only innovate, but also defend against sophisticated cyber threats. Lena was hailed as a visionary, a new kind of tech leader, one who prioritized ethics and social good. Her work became a beacon, a counter-narrative to the prevailing profit-at-all-costs mentality of Silicon Valley. One quiet afternoon, a few days after the summit, Lena sat with Ben Carter, her loyal lead developer, in the still-cluttered garage that had been Viridian Tech's birthplace. The air was filled with a new sense of hope, but also a lingering tension. "Ben," Lena began, her voice low, "there's something you need to know. The malware, the code signature, it was my father's." Ben froze, his face a mask of disbelief. "Richard Sterling? Your father? But how?" Lena recounted the story of her estranged father, his abandonment, his pioneering but ethically ambiguous work in early AI, and her gut-wrenching realization at the summit. She explained how his specific coding style, his signature, had been the key to her discovery. Ben listened, horrified but utterly supportive. "I had my suspicions," he admitted quietly. "The sophistication of the attack, it didn't fit any known group. But your own father, that's unthinkable." He paused, then met her gaze with unwavering loyalty. "It doesn't change anything, Lena. You still built something incredible, something good. He tried to destroy it, but you saved it. And us." Weeks later, a letter arrived at Lena's new, sleek office in Viridian Tech's temporary headquarters. It was from Richard Sterling. He had attempted to contact her multiple times, begging for forgiveness, for a chance to explain, for a reunion. Lena had ignored his calls, her resolve hardened by years of neglect and his recent brutal betrayal. This letter was his last, desperate attempt. She read it, her face impassive. It was filled with apologies, excuses, and thinly veiled attempts to reclaim a connection he had long severed. He spoke of remorse, of recognizing his mistakes, of the painful truth that his ambition had blinded him. But for Lena, his words rang hollow. His actions had spoken volumes. She placed the letter carefully on her desk, then picked up a framed photograph of her mother, vibrant and smiling, a woman who had quietly raised Lena with strength and integrity. Lena looked at the photo, then at her own reflection in the glass of her office window, her eyes clear and firm. She acknowledged their shared lineage, the undeniable link of blood and genius, but she drew a clear boundary. Richard Sterling had chosen his path, one of greed and deceit, abandoning her and destroying his own legacy. She would not allow him to poison her new beginning. She would ensure he faced the full consequences of his actions, not out of vengeance, but out of justice. Her focus now was on her children, if she had any in the future, her vision for them clear, and her ethical vision for Viridian Tech. The legacy she was building would be one of light, not shadow. The global financial landscape had shifted, not with a seismic jolt, but with the steady, undeniable influence of Amelia Vance. She was no longer just a celebrated figure in finance. She was revered, a titan of conscious capitalism whose name was synonymous with ethical investment and social responsibility. The legacy fund, under her visionary leadership, had grown exponentially, becoming a global model, proving irrevocably that immense profitability could thrive alongside an unwavering moral compass. Her every decision, every strategic move, was scrutinized and emulated across the industry. Her two children, Leo and Chloe, now confident teenagers, thrived under their mother's unwavering love and quiet wisdom. Secure in their financial future, they pursued their own passions. Leo, with a burgeoning interest in sustainable engineering, and Chloe, a gifted artist using her talent for social commentary. They knew the story of their mother's quiet courage, a powerful foundation for their own blossoming integrity. Amelia's commitment to paying it forward was etched into the very fabric of her new empire. She established the Vance Legacy Foundation, a powerful nonprofit that championed financial literacy education, particularly for women and single mothers seeking to escape cycles of debt and dependency. The foundation provided vital seed funding for women starting ethical businesses, directly challenging predatory lending practices and dismantling patriarchal systems that often marginalize them. Amelia frequently hosted empowerment workshops, her personal story of being underestimated and rising above betrayal serving as a potent inspiration. She dedicated a significant portion of the fund's profits to supporting cutting-edge research into ethical AI and transparent financial technologies, ensuring the future of finance aligned with human values, not just corporate gains. The story ends on a quiet evening. Amelia stood on the expansive balcony of her elegant office, now located in the gleaming Veritas Tower, a subtle nod to Gabriel Thorne's successful ethical venture from a previous narrative, overlooking the sprawling, glittering metropolis. Her children stood beside her, their faces illuminated by the city lights, looking out at the boundless possibilities of the future. Amelia reached down, her hand finding theirs, a gentle, reassuring squeeze. She touched the framed photo of her children on her desk, then her own hand, now adorned with a simple, elegant ring. It was not a wedding ring, but a custom-made band, its polished surface subtly inscribed with a single word: integrity. The city lights sparkle below, a vibrant testament to a future meticulously built on truth, not deceit. A legacy of light stretching as far as the eye could see. If this story stirred your heart, if it reminds you that courage can alter destinies and that light always finds a path even in the deepest darkness, please leave a comment. Share this story with those who need inspiration. Like, subscribe, and hit the bell to never miss our upcoming stories.